quiet in here. We need some company up on stage. There's Bez. Okay. See, I just had to wait an extra minute and then people start popping in. All right, let's do this. Podcastingmorningshow.com/join us. All right, here we go. Good morning, podcasters. Today is Friday, May 22nd, 2026. And today, we'll talk about why podcasters may be chasing audience growth before they've built real community and how people already showing up can create your strongest lasting momentum. So if you're listening live on Clubhouse, hit the share button, top right-hand side of the screen, and share it however Clubhouse lets you. And if you're catching us via podcast, YouTube, etc., please share this with a fellow podcaster. And now give us about 30 seconds. We'll get things rolling. Thanks for being here. The Podcasting Morning Show is powered by Ironic Media, helping podcasters launch, polish, and grow great shows. And by Content Creators Accountant, helping creators build real business behind their content. Good morning again, Podcasting Morning Show. Thank you so much for being here. I am your host, Mark Ronick, and currently with me on stage, the virtual stage, we have Ralphie Step, DR Fay, and BC Babbles, and of course yours truly, but also on the Clubhouse stage, we have April and Sambaza joining us as well from the audience. I asked them to come up here because when we started, it was eerie quiet in here.
They took pity on us.
We don't normally, it doesn't usually start where there's just like three of us. And so April and Sambaza were the first to come in the room. So I asked them to just come up and keep us company. We're not used to it. But I see now we've got Gabe and Bez joining us here on Clubhouse as well. And Jonathan Howard, co-host, he has just joined us as well. Good to have everybody here. I've had my first day at home. Well, my wife had her first day at home yesterday since she was unexpectedly in the hospital. So things were feeling a little more status quo after a crazy 5 or so days. And I've also got my parents in town as well, which has been very helpful and a coincidence. They didn't come in because of my wife's situation. They were already scheduled to come in, and it was a blessing to have them here. It was very helpful. So all things are going well for those of you who may be wondering. Overall, like I said, we've got a road ahead of us, but things are looking good. So today, before we dig in, I was just debating what to do here because I have a feeling I was going to share. We're going to dive into our spotlight of the week. So this is our spotlight series where we showcase our different community members and their podcasts. And I was hesitating because I'm wondering if Clubhouse is going to be able to hear it when I play it, because I feel like that's been a thing when I've tried it before. And by the way, welcome. Now people are filing in here on Clubhouse. Oh, and so is Sid live from London. So we'll check in with Sid as well. So I guess what I'll do first here is I'm just going to test this. I should have tested it beforehand, so please forgive me. But I'm going to right now, so I'm in Riverside. I'm using their little share feature, much like you'd see on Zoom, for example. And I've got to, of course, turn on the share sound as well. Doing that. All right, so now my team here should be able to see at least a preview of what I'm about to show you. Today's spotlight comes from Cartridge and Quest, and it's hosted by Average Trav and Food Mike C. And by the way, I sometimes like that when we're not just using our real names, depending on the show. And a show like this one, I think it works well when we've got our podcast names, our radio names, whatever you want to call them, when we've got those little names. Sometimes that helps an audience connect more with those hosts. It helps them remember the host's name initially, and then it's something that they kind of latch on to at times. So I like that. All right, before I really play it, I just want to make sure that you guys can hear it on Clubhouse. So I'm going to you, Jonathan. Tell me if you can hear this. I'm starting it right now.
Crack open a cold one and welcome to the basement.
Did you hear that?
Yep, all good, sir.
All right, good. So we are good to go. So let me first tell you about this show. Again, Cartridge and Quest. The show is built around the kind of hangout. It's kind of like a hangout for 90s kids, right? And it's something that I think those 90s kids will instantly recognize. Crapping. Ralph, can you hit the words hard in the morning?
Thank you.
Brain is not. Math says glorying. Guess I forgot. Words are hard in the morning.
Crapping.
Did I say that out loud?
It's that crapping situation.
So the show is built around the kind of hangout a lot of 80s kids will instantly recognize, cracking open a cold beverage, heading into the basement and talking retro games, pop culture, classic wrestling nostalgia, etc. So as you listen to this clip, pay attention to the vibe. This is a show that seems to know exactly who it's for, what kind of feeling it wants to create. So let's check out Cartridge and Quest.
So before
Yes.
you do,
Yes.
is the word cartridge, is that referring to the VH1 tapes that we used to have?
I think that's referring to video game cartridges back in the
okay.
day. Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Which is a completely foreign concept to kids today because you just download the games now. You don't even need anything. You don't have to even go to the store these days to buy those games. Okay, so let's
And
play it.
Mark,
Yeah.
let me throw one more thing in. So if you want to see it, they actually submitted a video submission. So if you want to go check out the live show, if you're not there now, you can check it out afterwards. But check out what they sent in because it's very cool too.
Yep, and you can find that at podcastingmorningshow.com/join us. Here is Cartridge and Quest.
Crack open a cold one and welcome to the basement. This is your brick-walled sanctuary away from the daily grind of adulting and dad life. I am Average Trav, and alongside Foodie Mike C, we are bringing that pure 1985 energy straight to your speakers. Every week on the Cartridge and Quest podcast, we ditch the real world for a deep dive into 90s nostalgia. We are talking everything from the SNES and Sega Genesis playground rivalry to Attitude Era wrestling, classic Saturday morning cartoons, and the wild fashion choices we all thought looked fresh. We will test your brain with cartridge conundrum trivia, judge some truly questionable lyrics in Lost in Translation, and break down exactly what these damn kids are saying today. Foodie Mike C might even drop some culinary heat by reimagining iconic pop culture meals. Sure, some of those old games are pretty clunky now, and modern tech is actually nice, but those warm 90s memories are undeniable. Whether you are rocking Air Jordans or just trying to survive the week, grab your favorite craft drink and come hang out. You can find the show, the merch, and the whole community right now at cartridgeandquest.com. Keep it rad and peace.
Thank you, Cartridge and Quest. I got to say, if you were watching the video, it is very well done. I'm guessing that the way that, they really bring us into a 90s basement. And I got to think they had to use AI to make some of that happen. I don't know for sure. BC, what did you want to add?
Well, good morning, everyone. To
morning.
me, it looks completely AI, but it's very well done AI personally.
Yeah.
But they had me at the Sega Genesis controller. They had me right there.
Me too. They had me
that was my life.
Yes, they had me at the Nintendo controller, the classic Nintendo controller on the table there. Yeah, really well done. Kept my attention. I will say I would encourage them, pardon me, I would encourage them to get music that plays throughout the entire 1 minute, 7 seconds. And yes, technically that's a party foul. We only wanted 60, but I don't mind playing this. I know Cartridge and Quest and these guys listen to the Podcasting Morning Show regularly. So yeah, just want to encourage you guys. It's so well done that I feel like once the music cuts out 7 seconds early, it just loses a little something. So I would encourage you to just find something that plays all the way through. But I can tell you again, this show, what stood out for me right away, at least with this clip, is how clearly the show is built around a feeling, right? It's not just, we talk about games and wrestling. It's that basement hangout, the cold beverage thing, the 90s nostalgia, the kind of conversation where the audience probably feels like they're sitting there with the hosts. And that's really, that I connect so much with that because my old show, the Mark and Lowell show, was that, right? And it was more 80s, 90s, It wasn't just specific to 90s, but that was the same kind of feel we tried to create, was that people just felt like they were hanging out with us in the room. And it's a great reminder for podcasters, because your show description, your intro, your clips, all of it should help people understand the experience that they're stepping into. Cartridge and Quest does a nice job of giving listeners a specific world to enter into. And you can find their show at cartridgeandquest.com. And if you'd like your podcast featured on the Podcasting Morning Show, submit a 60-second clip about your show at podcastingmorningshow.com/spotlight. And if we select it, we'll do just like what we did here. We'll play it on a future episode. We'll share what stood out to us, and we'll introduce your show to our community of podcasters and creators. So do that. Again, that's podcastingmorningshow.com/spotlight. And if anyone else wanted to chime in, you are more than welcome to. But let me do this. Since today is a community day, let me pause here real quick before we get into the topic of really what it takes to build a community and why I believe that's so important. I just want to stop and say hello to Sid, who is in London at the moment. Sid, thank you for stopping in. I know I planted that seed earlier, but you heeded the call. I appreciate that. How's everything going in London?
Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. It's going great. London has been awesome. We're finishing up lunch at a pub and with a pint and a Aperol Spritz. So then we're headed over to Westminster Abbey for a tour. And so yeah, London has been spectacular. Got a couple more days before I head home. So yeah, it's been great. I've been missing you guys. However, I have been listening to the podcast, and I said this to Mark this morning, and I'll say it to all of you. If you've never listened to the show on podcast, you should. It's spectacular. It is really good. The editing is great. DR is super funny on the show, not irritating as she is in person. I'm just kidding. I have laughed out loud at DR so many times
I
this week.
told you I'm not irritating.
Oh, wow, that was.
But no, just listening to the show, completely different experience rather than actually being on the show every morning, right? And it's been fantastic. Yesterday's show, I was note taking like crazy. I sent all my notes to Mark this morning. I'm like, that was a really, really good show. So I've enjoyed listening in, and so I missed all of you guys, but it's been great to be able to consume via podcast. So I'll be back on Tuesday for 2 days, and then I'm off again.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. And thank you. I appreciate the feedback, Sid, and maybe it is a little biased, but at the same time, I agree with you. It's fun to kind of every once in a while, I do like to go back and listen just to hear how a listener hears it. And I would suggest to a lot of podcasters to do the same. And I'm already hearing some of you say, yeah, I do that already because I edit my own podcast. So I hear it all the time. But honestly, it's a different experience once you edit it and then sit down somewhere like in your car or when you're working out and play it back. It's a different experience. And I think it's a really helpful one for us as podcasters. So, okay, cool. Thank you, Sid.
I mean, I've really enjoyed listening into it because I'm listening at, it's midnight where you guys are when I'm listening. So you've already done it and out there. So it's been really great. And so yeah, London's been great, and I'm excited to come home. But I got three more days with my little princess here, and we're gonna do a lot of fun things. And so yeah, enjoying the vacation. And Jonathan, did you get my text message?
Uh-oh. Jonathan, did you get Sid's text message?
He didn't respond to me. He's dissing me.
He's not responding. There he is.
I did. I was in the hospital yesterday, so I
Oh
didn't
no,
respond
I'm
to it.
sorry. Oh, now I feel
It's
really
okay.
bad.
No,
I feel
don't
really
worry
bad.
about
Are
it.
you okay, Jonathan?
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it
Okay.
out. Yeah.
Wow.
I found the perfect pub for Jonathan. It's called the Antisocial Club Pub. And I sent him a picture of it. But Jonathan, I'm hoping, man, you feel better soon. Sorry.
Yes, I hope so too, Jonathan. Feel better. And yeah, whenever you're ready to share more, by all means, we'll give you a moment to do so. But take care of yourself, my friend, and we're thinking about you. All right, let's do this. Today, I want to talk about something that I think a lot of podcasters feel, but they don't always say it out loud. You could be creating something that's meant to connect people and still feel like you're doing it alone. You're publishing episodes, you're checking the numbers, you're sharing the links, you're trying to grow, and yet it can still feel quiet on the other side. So today we're digging into what actually turns listeners into people who respond, they participate, they recommend, and help you build momentum. And some of this today, I think, is going to be a little bit from my Podfest talk that I did in January, which was all about building community. And there's a 5-step process that I put together when putting my presentation together that I think we'll share here today. But first, I want to start with a question for you guys. What's something that a listener has done that made you think, okay, doing this podcast matters? It actually is something that feels that I know I was meant to do it. This is a sign, right? That's one way to put it. So, Ralph, you were first to raise your hand. What say you?
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, and I had something happen this week which just absolutely floored me. And I've been asking on my daily show for people to send me a voicemail and talk about how the show is impacting them. And it was Monday or Tuesday, I got a voicemail from a person, and they said that I had changed their life. They said that the financial things that I've showed them, they're finally getting to a place of feeling confident in their finances. They said that their marriage is stronger because they don't fight about money anymore. And it was a 2-minute voicemail, and you couldn't have paid me money to match the feeling that I had after listening to that. So to me, that was the definition of this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I tell you what, man, it was just an amazing experience. I responded back in about 30 seconds. The guy probably thought I was crazy, but it was just amazing to hear how the words that I'm using, the effort that I put into my daily show is impacting somebody in such a positive way.
I love that, Ralph. Yeah, I have a recent one as well, and actually not hope it doesn't embarrass the person. I don't think it will, but Gabe Lee, who's in the audience, who actually just put in the chat on Clubhouse, it's all about community. And man, I couldn't agree more, Gabe. But Gabe I have a similar example to yours, Ralph, because Gabe posted in our Facebook group, Empowered Podcasting. And actually, I saw in a couple other social media platforms as well. But he wrote something on the 19th. He wrote, "Ever since the time change, I've been able to listen to the show. I love the dynamic that Mark, Ralph, DR, BC, Alex, Sid, and everyone brings to the conversation. This has been a great highlight for me to start my day and really learn so much about my passion for podcasting. Thank you all for the amazing and tireless work you being to all of us." I think there's a typo there. But nonetheless, Gabe, that really meant something to me. And it's when I get stuff like this, when I see these things, or like I shared a couple of times recently, that LinkedIn post from a listener who said they were listening to 10 podcasts about podcasting. They found us and within a few weeks dropped all the others and just listened to us. Those are the moments for me that really makes me say, yeah, this is worth it. Right? Because there are certainly times doing a podcast that's 5 days a week and scrambling to make sure we can put on as good of a show as we can every single day. There are times where that grind starts to feel like, oh, why am I doing this? Right? But then somebody like Gabe comes along, who's a newer member of the community and has been showing up loyally, religiously every day. That means the world to me. So thank you to Gabe. And yeah, these are the types of examples that I'm talking about. Does anybody else want to share an example, whether it's something like that or something else entirely? What's something a listener has done that made you think this matters? Does anyone go ahead?
I'll share, Mark, because I can't use the chili pepper for whatever reason.
Okay.
Maybe it's the UK version of Clubhouse. Who knows? I love the shares on social media. I love the comments. That's all really great. I love the emails, but I had a listener tell me 2 weeks ago that she shared a specific episode with her entire team because the message was so impactful. When you hear that like face to face, and it was over a Zoom call, it was really good. But when you hear her, this is the COO of a pretty large manufacturer. She said, I shared that with my entire team because it was so impactful and I want them to understand the meaning behind it. And like that's why you do it, right? When they hit the share, and the fact that she didn't share it with just one person, she shared it with her entire team, which I think is 10 people. Like that's why you do this. So yeah, that for me, I'll always remember that moment that she told me that.
Love that one. Thank you, Sid. Appreciate that. All right. Anyone else? No? Okay. Well, I think that I do want to just make it clear that this is the part that I think a lot of podcasters miss because they say they want the numbers, the analytics to be in a certain place, right? But underneath that, they usually want proof that their work matters, right? They want to see opportunities. They want to see credibility. They want people to care. Those things come from relationships, and relationships get stronger when people feel included, right? So another question for you. Maybe we can play off of that last question. What are some signs that your podcast audience or a podcast audience is actually starting to become a community, right? Because there is a difference. When we talk about audience, those are people who are pressing play on your podcast. We don't necessarily know how long. We don't know if they're coming back the next week or not. But they're people, that's your audience. Those are your listeners or viewers. But a community to me, this is an example right here, right? This very group of people. These are people that to me are showing up all the time. They're participating, they're communicating that about this show, they're sharing it with others. And I know I've given you a bunch of examples already now, but Ralph, what say you? What are some signs that a podcast audience is starting to become a community?
So the thing that I look for is if people are sharing my content. When I go onto social media and I see somebody if I post a reel or something like that, and somebody shares and says, "Oh, you got to listen to this." That to me is the definition of you have a community. I call them my brand ambassadors. And I'm starting to see a lot of those people. And that really reinforces what you're talking about, Mark, because those are the people that are going to tell other people. I'm a believer in sort of guerrilla relationship marketing. And that is going out and taking a genuine interest in one person. And then the next day I find somebody else and I find somebody else. And it's interesting. We talked a little bit about this pre-show. That's the way I've built a lot of relationships in podcasting. And when I reach out to somebody, like we're going to have somebody, we'll talk about it later on the show Tuesday, that was because I basically reached out to that person on LinkedIn. I said, I really appreciate what you do. And that built a relationship. And now she's going to come on the show. And, if you have people out there doing the same for your content, that is what is going to grow your community. And once your community grows, it's kind of like a restaurant. When you go out for a restaurant, what do we always say? Oh, where's a good restaurant to eat? You listen for what other people say. And if somebody said it's terrible, you don't go there at all. But your content's going to work the same way. If you can build this community of people who are your brand ambassadors, it is going to be super successful for you. And your download numbers will be the afterthought because your community is going to be so strong that you're just going to have a huge presence.
Yeah, sometimes what it takes, is those signs. It's seeing our audience, putting it out there like, hey, check out this guy's podcast. It's really good. I really like it. I think that is, to me, that's a seed for community building. And Ralph, you taking it a step further and noticing those people who are sharing and reaching out to them and thanking them, that's where you start to nourish that seed. Right, you're actually rewarding those people, and to them it is a reward to hear from the person that they're sharing about, to say thank you. That means a lot.
Absolutely, and I like what April put into the YouTube chat. She said, "To me, community is made up of action takers who come alongside you on your journey, and vice versa." And then she put #momentum, and super fans she put in the Clubhouse chat, and that is exactly the correct answer. April, thank you so much for sharing that.
Agreed. Yeah, I think so. For me, what some signs for me, I think it's the people who are sharing my stuff, but it's also the people who take the minute to reach out to me and to tell me, like Ralph, like what you were sharing earlier, the people that thank you for what you're doing, send you an email, send you a DM, etc. That's a great sign for you to take action and start that connection, because if you don't, it's not that they necessarily are going to be upset about it or angry about it, but you're not watering that plant. You're not watering that seed. And then that seed may not grow. Right? So doing those one person at a time thing does feel like a lot, but it goes a long way. And I think I may have shared this once before, not too long ago. As some of you know, for the Empowered Podcasting Conference, me, Jason Sircone, and Rich Perry, we do a every other week show where we're sharing about what's going on behind the scenes and sharing about different community members. And the way that I promote that show, I don't do ads. I don't pay for ads. I don't put up a lot of short clips or anything like that to get people's attention. I literally reach out to, I'd say, 1 to 2 dozen people from the community that I've identified as either community members or potential community members. I reach out to them like 2 hours before we go live, and I send each of them a link. And yes, I do copy and paste, but I try to come up with like 3 or 4 different messages to them, right? So just to make it a little more personal. And I ask them to come join us. And we get a great turnout. Now, of course, we're not going to get hundreds of people, but we do end up getting a few dozen people that show up with virtually no other promotion other than reaching out to the community one person at a time. And it makes all the difference, especially when you're doing a live stream and you can see in real time people popping in. It changes my energy when I start to see people filing in. So that's my example. And by the way, I went from earlier when we started the show saying, where is our community? To now I'm seeing people. We've got several people watching on YouTube. We've got a full house here on Clubhouse. Thank you all for being here today. So
Hey, Mark, can I add into this?
Yeah, go ahead, Sid.
Sorry. So, one of the, I think, indications for me that you're really building a community is whether it's a text message, because I don't have my cell phone number, or a LinkedIn message, or even a comment, when they say, love the show, love the episode, what more content like this, or like one I got 2 days ago, great episode. I want to introduce you to someone who I think would be a great guest on your show. So when they're like taking a role in who they want to hear on your show and like suggesting people, that's a huge sign you have a loyal, almost raving fan when they're saying, hey, interview these people. And somebody who's a 90% interview, I appreciate introductions to potential guests.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and yeah, that's how we're doing it with this show. Like Ralph said earlier, right? We're just making those connections and then, yeah, inviting people into your world or having people invited into your world based on your answer. Yeah. Thank you, Sid. Appreciate that. This feels to me like a place to lead into that framework that I was talking to you guys about earlier. Because I do also, by the way, want to save a little bit of time to share our wins from this past week, like we do every Friday. So let's do that. Let's shift from the bigger idea of community into something practical. It's easy to say build community around your podcast, but what does that actually mean? Right? What do you do? Where do you start? And we're starting to hit on some of those things. How do you make people feel involved without turning it into another overwhelming job on your list? So I want to share the 5-step framework that I've used and that I shared at Podfest. And look, this is something that I've used sometimes intentionally, sometimes by really realizing it later, because it took something like doing a presentation at Podfest to force me into thinking, what are those unintentional things that I've been doing that work well, that's helped us build what we've built here at the Podcasting Morning Show? So here, here's that 5-step framework. It starts with embed before you lead, and we'll get into the details. Embed before you lead. Number 2, notice who the regulars are. Number 3, invite them into this world that you've created. Number 4 is elevate them publicly. I'll explain. And then lastly, cut what you don't need. So I want to go through these one at a time, but I don't want this to become a big lecture. So I'll explain each step briefly. Then I want to open it up to the room and hear how this show, how this shows up in your podcast, your community, your audience, or even communities that you've been a part of. Doesn't necessarily even have to be your community. It can be something that you've noticed from others. So first, like I said, embed before you lead. Before leading your own community, show up meaningfully in other spaces, not yours. I'm not talking about your space. Answer people's questions, cheer people on, support people, and become known through your contributions in that community. So I'm curious where you all have shown up consistently before trying to lead your own space. I want to hear about what those communities are, who those communities are, and like I said, where you're showing up consistently. Who would like to share? Oh, come on now. There's got to be a million podcast communities. Go ahead, Ralph.
Well, I will say this. One of the things that I did when I first got started in podcasting, and this isn't a plug for Dave Jackson, but it's going to sound like it. I joined the School of Podcasting, and I really took a genuine interest in that community. And when people would post something, when people would be involved in something, if he had a party for listening to a show, I took an interest in that. And it really helped grow my influence, because then they're like, oh, who's this guy, Ralph? What does Ralph do? And I was supporting them, and I would reach out to them and said, hey, can I help you with anything? And I didn't know about this community at the time. So that was the community I was going to. But I think that's the thing that all of us can do. I do the same thing on LinkedIn. I go to LinkedIn every day, and I take about 15 minutes of my time, and I go find an independent or DIY podcaster, and I just reach out to them saying, hey, I checked out your stuff, and I take an interest. I actually go check their stuff out, and I build that one by one, and that has really worked significantly well for me to get to be known in the community.
Thank you, Ralph. Appreciate that. And we have some of our community members that want to chime in. I'm going to go to April first, who's on the Clubhouse stage, and she's watching on YouTube. And then I'm going to check in with you, Gabe. So first, April, go for it. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. So for me, what I'm going to be doing on my future, what I call vodcasts, is to bring on people who are tribe leaders, as I call them, who have existing communities, who may or may not know each other. I give an example, like Pat Flynn knows Shalene Johnson, but maybe their people don't know each other. So bringing them on to have a conversation, bring on their community members to get them introduced to each other, get them engaging, would be win-win for each of them as well as for myself, because then people will get to know me from their communities. So we all share the love.
I like that. So the approach is almost like connecting two communities and building them into, or at least encouraging them into yours by connecting those two. I love that idea. I think that's awesome. And I think you can do that with big communities like Shailene and Pat has, or you could do that with small communities just the same. So yeah, DR, you want to chime in, and then we'll go to Gabe.
Yeah, so before it closed down, I was a pretty active member in a podcasting producers group, or podcasting managers group. And the leader of it it stemmed from a course that I took, of course, whatever.
Of course, you take lots of them. Yes.
Of course. And it became a very lively Facebook group that I was very, very much involved in. And it got to the point where people were seeking me out for answers if they had a question. And it did so much for my, I don't want to say ego, but it kind of validated, oh yeah, I do know this stuff. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and I actually did know this stuff, and it kind of was so ingrained in me that I didn't realize that I was helping people.
Mm.
So the leader of that group has decided to go back to shut down the course, go back into the agency kind of life. And so, Mark, you and I have kind of developed this other Facebook group that is stemming from that, Podcast Pros 2.0. And we're trying to get that going, and I think we have a pretty good start on it, actually. So yeah, I'm so pleased that we've got that going and that we can continue those strategy calls, although we haven't done one for a couple weeks, but I am so happy to keep that going. Thank you
And
for helping me with that, Mark.
you're welcome. And that's actually really an interesting part, which it kind of leads into, it's somewhat like notice the regulars, which was step 2, but because I think DR, I noticed 2 things that you did from rebuilding that community. One was I noticed that you reached out to some of those individuals that you got to know a little bit through the original community, and you asked them to be a part of what you were building now,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And then you also reached out to me, somebody that you know that builds communities, and
Yeah.
you asked for help. Can you help lead this with me?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that these are all important steps to pay attention to, because they really do make a big difference for us leading these communities. It helps us a great deal by bringing in other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, DR. Appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Let's go to Gabe, and then I know Janaid wants to chime in, and some people have been chiming in on the different chats, so we'll try to get to those as well. Go ahead, Gabe. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. So, one of the things that I've learned, Mark, that you kind of just covered the 5 steps that that's the secret everybody can actually use to build a community. But a lot for me is doing what I'm doing now, is showing up constantly, like taking in all the input that everybody shares, like see all the wonders and magic that everybody, seeing their gifts and talents, and then open up about it and let them express it, and then getting to know each individual. I haven't said anything since I've been here, but part of it has been learning about everybody, going, watching everybody, go check out their socials, go check out what they do, listen to their podcast, like really get to learn the person. Because I'm feeling that that's part of the best way to not only build community, but I love building relationships. And, Ralph even made mention of it, like going on to LinkedIn. I mean, I've spent the majority of my time on LinkedIn. I used to do an everyday live stream. I've built communities, but it all starts by quietly going in and saying, "Let me see the value in the people first, and then start from there." So, just wanted to share. I love what you guys do here. Like that's why I wrote the post that I did, because I don't endorse or show up to things unless I feel it really does bring some kind of value to myself and to the others that I share it to. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Gabe. You had a lot of people flashing emojis of approval while you were sharing that. I think that's an important one. And I think that's similar to what Jessica was sharing in the Clubhouse chat. She said that I started building relationships with local charities, similar, but not quite the same. I admittedly kind of browsed it before I read it. I started by building relationships with local charities and establishing book clubs rooted in connection and conversation. Transitioning into podcasting felt natural because the trust was already there. That's so huge, Jessica. And again, Gabe, so is your share. And I think the combination here is a really important one to highlight. Sometimes we put the cart before the horse, right? We start the podcast and expect the community to build. And it can. I'm not saying it can't, right? But for some of us, that might be harder than for others. And I think establishing real community, meaning real life community, in-person community, and connecting with people in the real world can then translate into growing your podcast, growing your social media, etc. So getting out there and networking, I think, can go a long way. And yeah, if you can build some community outside of the internet, I think that can then come and translate over into your podcast whenever you get that started. Janaid, I know you wanted to chime in too. You want to share?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I do, Mark. And this is such a powerful conversation because our communities is what helps us grow from where we are. And I stepped into all of this barely 8 years ago, right? I wasn't a podcaster, I wasn't anything. And I embedded myself into, okay, starting a podcast, joining these podcast communities. The first one that I was part of was Anchor FM, and I met so many people in there. And that led me to unconventional leaders. And it just so happened that we had this pandemic. And if it wasn't for the leader to lead these calls every single day where we get to come in and embed ourselves, be present, I wouldn't be where I am today. So it all comes down to who's leading the community, how much facilitating are they doing to bring the people together. And that's really, where you mentioned the first thing, you're embedding yourself into the community, getting to know the people. And now I have so many
Oh, I'm gonna cut
and
you
I
off,
could point to and tech.
Junaid, sorry, cutting you off because your connection just toward the end was starting to get really choppy there. So please forgive us. But I did get that. And I wanted maybe your connection's a little bit better. Junaid, I'm curious from you, how do you describe a powerful or strong community leader? What is it that you notice about a leader that draws you to them? And I know that's a tough question.
The one thing that a strong community leader does is they're vulnerable. They share every single thing that they're going through, and that comes at a huge cost because not everybody is able to share that kind of messaging. The entire story, the entire journey that
Uh-oh.
and
Go ahead, keep going.
doing
Sorry.
the things, it's all shows you that this person is a nice person. This person is somebody who cares. And I saw the same thing with you. I saw the same thing with Heather. I saw the same thing with others that I've been in communities with. Gabe, Brian Shulman's communities. Like these are powerful, very down to earth people. Heart centered entrepreneurs is what we call them, right? And that's something that automatically just clicks in your heart. Hey, this is a real person versus somebody who's just posturing and creating, showing up. Or maybe they're going through a journey, maybe they're going through a phase where they haven't crossed over the bridge yet, but they're and choices as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Junaid. I appreciate that. So just help keep me straight here. Did we go? Are we still on embed yourself into the community, other communities? Sorry. Wow. Words. Yes. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right. Do it.
Coffee's hot, the brain is not. Mouth says glorying, guess I forgot. Words are hard in the morning. Did I say that out loud?
Have we moved on to step 2, notice the regulars? Did I move? I don't think so. So noticing the regulars, that means to pay attention to the people who keep showing up, the ones that are engaging, that are helping other people in the community or responding to your posts or things that you're talking about on your podcast, contributing without needing to be pushed. These are the regulars that I think it's important to pause, like Ralph does, like others have explained, pause and reach out to them, thank them, communicate with them, acknowledge them, right? And I'm just going to keep things moving for sake of time for a second and move to the next prompt, which is elevating them publicly. Okay, so they're the regulars. They've proven that they're in this with you. Then it's time to elevate them, recognize them publicly, out loud on your podcast, mention their names, highlight wins, point to people as leaders, and show the community what contribution looks like. And I look, not to toot my own horn, but that's exactly what we do here. All of those things, right? I've identified leaders, the people that you see on Clubhouse here with the green beans by their names, that meaning that they're co-hosts, that they're moderators. These were all people that were listeners first. that I just recognize as people who add a lot of value, who believe in what I'm trying to do here. And they're also echoing what I'm trying to do here. So it's so important to have people, to let people be seen, show that who they are, recognize them. And if anybody has examples or contributions they want to add as I rattle through these 5 steps, because I promised you I would, you're more than welcome. Just flash an emoji. Yes, Sid, go ahead.
So we were on the tube, so I lost you guys there for a minute. So I don't know what I missed, but episode 200 is coming up in a month or so. This is pretty exciting. And I've been thinking about what I want to do for episode 200. Episode 100, I had somebody interview me. And I thought, well, I don't want to do that again. And so then it hit me. I'm going to have a panel discussion with, I've invited 4 of my listeners who I know are raving fans that listen all the time, but have actually yeah, they've never been on the show.
Sorry, Sid, your connection is getting a little crazy. So unfortunately, I think I got to cut you off. It was really hard to hear you there. Let's just see. Yeah, there he is. Sorry, Sid.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back, and actually sounds much better.
Okay. So for episode 200, I've invited 4 people.
Sid, I got to cut you off. I'm so sorry, Sid. The audio is just not coming through strongly enough. So we'll have to find out what he's going to do for episode 200 when he's back here in the States with a better connection. But yes, okay, so elevating people publicly is your 3rd step. Or 4th. Let me make sure of that. Did I just do 3? I don't know. I've lost track. Embed, notice, invite them in. Yes, that's right. And then elevate them publicly. That's number 4. And number 5, cut what you don't need. Now, this isn't necessarily directly related to building the community, but it's indirectly related. I believe what worked for me was to simplify. Let go of some of the tactics like the constant promotions and the extra efforts that don't actually build the connection. Focus on something that Gabe was saying. I believe it was Gabe. Showing up consistently. Focus on supporting. Focus on being more involved and elevating people. I'm not saying throw out all of your tactics, throw out all of your strategies, and just focus on this. But identify some of the things that feel like they're weighing you down and put them aside and put that effort instead into building out this community. Because again, going back to the top of the show and some of the things we were sharing, that's where you start getting more of that positive feedback, more of that, wow, this made such a difference. You've changed my life, Ralph, right? Like that one that you got. And it's so much more rewarding than just grinding all the time to try to get those growth strategies to work for you. So those are the 5 steps. I think that this is a good spot to switch some gears here. But if anybody has any final thoughts just around that or around building community, I want to hear about it. If not, oh, yes.
Yeah, I do.
I'm sorry. So sorry, Lindsay. I forgot. I saw you come up and then I totally lost you because you're below the fold on my screen. So yeah, please chime in, Lindsay. Good morning.
Yeah, no worries at all. And it's perfect timing always. So I love this conversation. And one thing I also wanted to really mix into the space, especially for those that are sitting on the cusp of like, do I create a podcast? What do I talk about on a podcast? All of those things. And so one thing that I think most people with communities don't consider is starting a podcast. So for instance, Wellness Warrior Collective has existed for 12 years. The podcast only for 4, because the Wellness Warrior podcast was created to nurture the community that was already cultivated. And so I do believe you can do it both ways. there isn't a right way. Start with one and do the other. However, I did want to bring into this conversation that if you already are in a community and you're serving and you love what you're talking about, lean in. So that's what I wanted to throw in. Back
Yeah.
to you.
Thank you. And that really translates to a community. When you lean in to your content, to your community, they pick up on that so much. The passion comes through. And if you're just kind of going through the motions, or you're feeling like you're in a grind and not really feeling it, that translates. And that's where you start to lose listeners, you start to lose community members. So it's important to follow that passion. I appreciate that, Lindsay, so much. Thank you. Let's do it. Wins from the week. Today is the day that we all stop and celebrate with one another. Something that's gone on this week that's worth stopping and celebrating, stopping and smelling the roses, if you will. I think that sometimes, again, going back to this conversation about getting stuck in a grind, I think that it's important to have these moments where we stop and recognize that we're doing it, right? And like I always say, if doing it is just getting out of bed every morning this week because it's been a really hard week, that's worth celebrating too. So let's do it. And I noticed that Roy has joined us from the audience up here on stage. Roy, I'm going to jump the line for a second and ask, did you come up because you want to share a win, or did you want to add something to the community conversation?
Yeah. Hey, Mark. I did want to add to the community conversation, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Thank you. Yes. So I see it as having an audience, a network, or a community. And there's a difference. And a lot of people confuse the three. Excuse me. So an audience is you to them. A network is them to you. But a community is them to them. Or them to each other. And I don't think that earlier the question was asked, what makes a strong community leader? So I believe that a strong community leader is someone who can facilitate their members connecting with each other. And I see a lot of Facebook groups and now a lot of school groups, and I guess wherever there are groups that gather, that the leader, the owner, the host, is so fearful, I think that's the word, of people connecting with one another because of blank. And April and I have heard it. April's my wife, in case you all didn't know. What happens is I don't know, it's weird, because if you go to their event, they don't say anything. It's like, yeah, you can connect with each other. That's their community. You can give me your calendar link. You can slide into my DM. But when it's virtual, like a Facebook group or a school group, they don't allow it. No poaching. Yeah, no blanking. And I for one, want to do something about it. So April and I are going to lead the brigade, so to speak, and let people know that the strength of your community is when they connect with each other, when they can do that, post their calendar links, DM people in the right way, of course. Not to promote, hey, you want to buy my product? Hey, you want to buy my service? Not like that. But hey, do you want to get on a call together, see what we have in common? Let's record it, because April and Roy want that. Put it on YouTube, give them the link, and if it's good enough, they'll share it. So anyway, Mark, I just wanted to be an advocate and share community members to community members. That makes a strong leader of a community, in my humble opinion.
I'm with
Thanks
you.
For the opportunity.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for that share. Actually, a beautiful way to really close up that particular segment. So thank you, Roy. And I would have a lot more to say, but I want to make sure that we get to anybody who wants to share their wins. But what I will say is yes, community to community member is super valuable and important to recognize as a distinction. And that's, like Jessica's here in the audience right now. And I believe that she's here because we made a connection outside of the podcast, right? Like we knew each other from Podfest, And we ended up having a call after Podfest because we didn't really get to connect there. And we had this call. We got to know each other probably 20, 30 minutes. And then Jessica started showing up. She started coming to the show. Of course, I encouraged her. I asked her, come join us and see what it's all about, if it's a good fit for you. But those connections go a really long way. I like how she just disappeared as I was talking about her. I hope I didn't embarrass her. But yes, that I think that those kinds of connections really go a long way. And yes, there she is. She's back. Jessica, I thought I maybe embarrassed you. All right. So listen, since we are so short on time, if you have a win to share, you can put it in the chat, whatever chat you're in. If you're on Clubhouse, I hope that you'll share it here on stage. And so many of you are on stage today. But first, Ralph, go ahead. You can kick us off with any wins you have.
Okay, I got 2 big wins. Number 1 win is we are in Grandson Watch officially now. The launch date at the very least is going to be next Wednesday, but it could be any moment now. So Ralph is going to be a proud grandpa here pretty soon. So please keep my family in your prayers. There's a little bit of a medical issue going on. Nothing life-shattering or nothing big deal, but please keep them in your my daughter-in-law Hunter, my son Ryan, and my future grandson. They won't give me the name. I don't think it's going to be Ralph, but that's okay. The second big win for me, and it kind of feels like it pales in comparison, is I reached number 2 on the Christian Finance podcast chart. So in Christian Finance, Ralph's show, Financially Confident Christian, has reached number 2, and that is a huge win for me. So thank you, everybody who supported that. And that's my wins for this week.
Congratulations, Ralph, and excited for you that you can be a grandpa. I feel like that when that day comes for me, it's going to feel very weird to be able to call myself a grandpa. That just doesn't feel right. But here we are. So congratulations to you.
Well, I got the gray hairs on the side. You can't hardly see them because I try to cover them up.
All right, let's go to BC and then DR. Go ahead, BC.
All right, 2 quick wins. One, I was very happy to treat myself to the See the South Capital Summit earlier this week. Also, despite the bipolar mentality that is Lake Norman weather this time of year, I got 2 solid days in the pool.
Nice.
So I'm going to go into the weekend happy.
Congratulations. DR, you want to share?
Yes, I do have a win. How about
Okay.
that? Okay. So last week, we invested a whole lot of money to get our 2 bathrooms completely renovated. Yes, my husband and I have separate bathrooms, and yes, we have separate TVs. This is the secret to our 25-year relationship.
Love it.
So yeah, I have a fully beautiful bathroom. It feels like I'm in a freaking hotel room. It is amazing. So that's my win.
Congratulations. And I see that Janae just shared in the chat here that he's launching Pod Glue in 2 weeks. And today heard a new news from Stephen. I think he meant to say a new episode from Stephen Bartlett. At least that's my guess. Gabe says big win this week is his wife is publishing her chapter in a new anthology book. Very cool. I want to share mine for a minute, if you don't mind. And I just want to make sure does anyone else have any wins they want to share? Because I want to make sure the community gets to. Yeah, Janae, do you want to add something?
Yes, I wanted to update the news that I heard about Stephen Bartlett. Is that
okay.
he's recently raised $425 million from some of the people that we know, Cody Sanchez. And basically what he's launching is he's calling the Stephen operating system, or it's the creator's operating system. And when I read this news, I was like, okay, I've been on the right track this whole time for the past 6 months with Podglue, because that's exactly what this is going to be building. So I'm super excited that that's the first signal. I wrote a whole article I can share in the notes about my journey in 2014, that when I saw Instacart raising $44 million, I stopped on an app that I was building that was going to do the same thing Instacart was doing. And this time I'm going full speed ahead, buddy.
Good. I love it. I was wondering where you were going with that, because I was worried that you were going to be discouraged by that, and no need, because you have you have the power of a community behind you. And I know you have at least 40 beta testers going, and I've seen what you've built, and it is amazing. So yes, keep going. Who cares about Stephen Bartlett? Doesn't matter. You've got a big thing coming, and yeah, it's worth pursuing. So congratulations.
Janae, do you need any other beta testers? Because I would love to get in on that.
Always open for new beta testers.
Thank
How do we
you.
do it?
Go over to podglue.com/contact, or there's a big join wait list on top that you can click on to join in.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Janae. My win is about being able to recognize and respect my priorities in life. As you know, I shared it at the beginning of the show. I've been sharing all week. My wife, Amy, was unexpectedly in the hospital from Saturday to Wednesday. And at first, I found myself stressing about my day-to-day life, right? What am I going to do about the show in the morning? What about the calls I have to schedule with my existing and potential podcasting clients? And I've got sponsorship calls for Empowered Podcasting Conference that I needed to attend. Like, all of this stuff was weighing on me on Monday. And then by Monday afternoon, I paused. And I recognized that all of those things, although totally important to me and my business, they can wait. Right? Like, those things will still be there. And I really had to just put all of my focus, all of my priority on my family, on taking care of her, on taking care of the dog, on taking care of the house, and doing all the things. And also having my parents in to try to entertain them a little bit too, which they kept telling me they don't require any tending to. But still, I wanted to, make sure they were having a good time too. So it's important, like, we can get really wrapped up in the grind and wrapped up in all of the things. And I think that I had to do a better job of letting that stuff go this week. And that in itself is a win, but it's also, again, I have to celebrate this community as a win. Ralph being a big support, making sure that we had topics for the week, and even went as far as creating rundowns for me, because we use a rundown and outline to follow each day. So, having and DR being in my corner every morning and helping with the final preparation of the show, and everybody just reaching out and having my back, all of these things are also wins. And I think also a great way to wrap up a conversation today about community. So I thank all of you for your support. I thank you for having my back. And I'm looking forward to next week. We're not doing a show Monday for the holiday here in the United States. And we're back Tuesday. Ralph, what's happening on Tuesday?
Oh yeah, Tuesday is going to be fantastic. And I feel like it's hard to come in after that, Mark. So, and it's been an honor helping you all week, my friend. It really has been.
Thank you.
But no, Tuesday is going to be great. We have a special guest. Her name is Katie Falk. She's actually the marketing director at Ecamm. And we're going to be talking about video podcasting. Specifically, we're going to talk about getting comfortable on camera. Katie's somebody who's really struggled with this, and she's made that very obvious. And then she's going to give us some ideas for overcoming those on-camera struggles and practical tips to build confidence. So really looking forward to her coming out. She's a great person to, once you get to know her, you'll be like, oh, I love this person. She's going to be great. So make sure you join us on Tuesday. That'll be a great episode.
Yeah, looking forward to that, and maybe learning a few things about Ecamm while she's there. So join us Tuesday. Remember, no show Monday. And you can find out how to join us at podcastingmorningshow.com/join us. So until Tuesday, make it a great long weekend, everybody. Take care.